Happy Wednesday, y'all. We made it. We are halfway there to the freaking weekend, which ultimately, I don't even know. My weekdays and my weekends are all the same. Like, I work just as much as I do on the weekends that I do on the weekdays. And I take time off during the weekdays, like it's the weekends. If I'm doing like a side job or one of my mini side hustles, it's on the weekend. Which is actually how I met my next guest, Sarah Scott Alperin. We met performing for a company, the Aqualilies, which is the world's most famous water ballet. It's synchronized swimming. I don't synchronize swim like the Olympians. I'm more of a dancer who learned how to swim. I don't want to confuse you on my skill set, but that is how I met her. And something that I always noticed about her is that she was always like writing in her planner, and I am such a planner girly, so I feel like I felt the vibe right then and there. A little bit about Sarah is she is an actress who recently added intimacy coordinator to her resume. Some of her acting credits include guest starring on shows such as ABC's Castle, HBO's True Blood, Showtime's Master of Sex, and Fox's The Orville. Her most notable, and in my opinion, the coolest role she played was portraying Courtney Love on a film called Soaked In Bleach. Just do yourself a favor. Go watch it, or at least watch the trailer. She literally embodied Courtney Love so well. Go check it out. Soaked in Bleach. And now that Sarah added intimacy coordinator to her repertoire, some of her recent credits include season 1 and 2 of HBO's Hacks and Winning Time, Good Girls on NBC, and Netflix You People from Scratch, and the upcoming films Lonely Planet and the Rebel Moon series. In this episode, we talk about how she transitioned into the intimacy coordinator role. She had an experience on a film that she worked where she didn't feel heard, and she felt the need to stand up for her rights, and she spoke about it. And now she's doing something about it and helping actors feel comfortable and safe. And she's kind of just like the liaison between the cast and the crew. I don't know if you guys know, but intimate scenes can be kind of uncomfortable. I mean, they are. They're uncomfortable, and I honestly can't believe it's taken this long to have intimacy coordinators. We also talk about post-COVID, how auditions went to like self-tapes and online platforms, which made moving out of the city a possibility. She lives in Yucca Valley, which is about 2 hours outside of LA, but she's able to still work in LA because she only has to come in town for work. So I feel like this is pretty crucial because a lot of people talk about the cost of living in LA. And yes, it's still expensive in California, but you don't necessarily have to live in LA to make it as an actor. And before we get into the episode, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has watched or listened to any of this podcast. I really appreciate it. It makes me feel good, and it makes me feel like, there's a purpose to this. So just remember, you could listen on Spotify, Apple Music, and you could watch the full video on YouTube. Enjoy the episode. Hey. Welcome to the Acting Like a Mom podcast. I am Alicia, your host, and we are here to shine a spotlight on the incredible and often untold stories of mothers navigating the fast-paced world of the entertainment industry. Let's get to it.
Lila.
I'm here.
Here we are. Okay.
Here we are.
Welcome to the Acting Like a Mom podcast. I am Alicia, and we have an amazing guest.
Yay!
I'm super excited to have you. We're going to start off with a slate. So tell us your name, where you're from, and a work job or work project that you're proud of.
Okay. Well, those are all difficult questions to answer. I have lots of questions about your questions. My name is Sarah Scott Alperin. Professionally Sarah Scott, but I've been thinking about just changing it to Sarah Alperin. Just, switching things up. Sarah Scott Alperin, and I currently live up in Yucca Valley, California. My greatest work accomplishment is that I'm still doing it, is that I'm still in it. There are some projects that stick out, but I'm most proud of that I work in the industry.
And you still work in the industry. I feel like
I feel valued,
something, because I always say it's like survival of the fittest. Someone's going to give up, it's just not going to be me, and it's like, and I feel like you're always like transitioning your career, trying new things. It's like, I feel like with acting, you can't just be just an actor.
No, I was just talking to my girlfriend about this because we kind of feel like we grew up in an era, a generation of actors that were told, don't have a plan B. If you have a plan B, that's going to be your plan A. So it's like, narrow kind of focus, actor, the only thing I can be. And then here comes this next generation of multi-hyphenates. I'm like,
girl.
yeah,
Yes.
can we cuss on this?
Yeah, it's so funny. Someone asked me, I said, yeah, sure. I mean, if I have to, I'll just push a button. And
Speaking of cussing, I'm really trying not to cuss as a mom. That is like my big thing right now.
are they listening to you? Repeating you? Have they repeated the words?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And also speaking of being an actor, like potty mouth, sailor mouth is just that's a
it's
normal,
a part of it.
Yeah, it's juicy language. You know, it's like part of expression. And then you have a 3-year-old, and you know, they're in swim class and they get frustrated and and first time he'd ever said it in the pool, surrounded by, you know, other adults.
And it's like that moment where it's funny, but you have to remind yourself, no, it's not funny.
Yeah.
But like the first time it's funny. No, he says he has 10 words in his vocabulary.
You're like,
I'm like, no. I do think there was a day I feel like he said something, a bad word, and I was like, there's just no way. So
yeah.
But it did make me think of just like the future of like watching.
I don't like it when they say freaking. Like, I'm like, no. Like, I'm really, but then I'm like, I have to stop.
I know.
Even in my, in the other room, they'll hear me.
You don't know what they hear and what they absorb, and it's just like so. Oh my gosh, it's so different.
I'm really trying to curb that.
I think you're doing great. I think you're doing great.
The best I can.
Wait, side note, going back really random.
Yes, please.
The name. I feel like that's your name.
Oh, my name.
I have been having that same
Similar
struggle.
conversation?
Yes, of who.
You're Alicia Young, as you've.
I'm Alicia Young. It's like
you got married,
and so I'm Alicia Young Hubbard, and I'm like, but I am Alicia Young, but I'm also Alicia Young Hubbard. I feel like, but do I say like slates? If it's a couple thing, I'll say Alicia Young Hubbard, of course. Because
if it's because your husband is also
he's also an actor. So when
he's doing it. Yeah, that's right.
He's killing the game.
Amazing.
He's supporting us right now because
you're making the babies. You're doing a big part of that support.
I'm doing some maternity work now. Now that I'm like showing and big and large and in charge.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying all that, and it's been
Suck
great.
it up.
So,
but a lot of women in this, speaking of the multi-hyphenate generation of kids of like doing more than just acting, it was really difficult for me to break out of this mold that I was so used to just doing what I knew, acting class, doing films, going to auditions, working on myself, taking, before kids,
practicing the craft.
Yeah, you're just working on you, and and I think if you're an older mom, by that I mean geriatric, like 30.
Like myself.
If you happen to have an adult life, especially in Hollywood, and there's that whole thing of like the Peter Pan syndrome of wanting to stay youthful, wanting to work on yourself and better yourself, and then all of a sudden kids show up and that's all thrown out. So it's like it's a weird thing to be like, that happened, well, at least in my experience, that happened, having a child, becoming aware of like, we can't live in this apartment in Echo Park anymore.
Yes.
We need to be adults. We need like real careers.
Girl.
And also
you
it's
have
like,
to be responsible.
and in the pandemic, it was like, a lot happened, but for me, what transpired was just a culmination of timing of things where life kind of presented itself in a way that I think becoming a mother allowed me to do a lot of things, and one of those was to say yes to something outside of this narrow focus.
Yes.
I have to be, and if I'm only successful if I make it as an actor.
It forced you to change your ways of thinking, have a big shift, because that's such a good point. Like actors, it's like, if you weren't focused, if you weren't only about this, if you weren't like thinking about anything with this, you're not dedicated. You're not doing it. But it's like when family comes in, it's not a game. Like
priorities change. They out of survival.
Yeah.
You can't not put your focus on something else, and then you realize, wow, I can focus on this and that. After you,
once you get there,
yes, for a couple months,
I was like months, years, girl. I feel like I never left. I'm like, oh my god.
But always, then you realize, wow, I do have superpower, and I can be a multifaceted individual. I'm not. My worth is not completely based upon my credits.
Yeah.
And so it was like a matter of needing necessity and also as a mother, I all of a sudden felt this compounded kind of, I don't know, power to just advocate for others. I had something else to live for, and that sort of opened me up to the job I'm currently doing more than acting, which is intimacy coordinating.
Okay, so is that's how you switch? That's
I mean, it all happened after Simone was born. I did a couple jobs.
Pause. You have 2 kids.
I have 2.
She has 2 kids, just so that people
and no more. Although I will tell you a quick funny story about yesterday, because I had my first time getting food poisoning 2 nights ago, and I know because my husband and I both like ate the same spinach and got sick.
He got sick too
within hours. Oh. Yeah, we were both just. And the kids wouldn't eat, and they weren't sick
because they were scared that they were.
No, they were
sick?
Full from grandparents telling them. So it was like one of these things, and then I wake up and I have to go to set. I'm driving into LA, like I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna be okay, and I'm. You can't be sick anywhere any days.
You can't clear your throat.
I knew I didn't have the flu.
Sneeze.
Exactly. But I knew in my heart, I was like, this is food poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
I just know it. This might sound bad, but I just knew because of my husband, the way that we got sick.
Yeah.
Okay. And I
get it.
Just the timing of it and what was going on.
Yeah. The stuff.
So I show up yesterday on set, and, I'm always like, day one, meeting everybody. They've already been maybe they've been going for a week or 2, and so they all kind of know each other. I'm the new person, needing to establish myself and also be, there's a lot of misconceptions about an intimacy coordinator. Mm-hmm. But so I'm putting on my best face. I'm talking to I'm meeting with the first actor in their trailer. I'm like, excuse me 1 second. I've run out. There's nowhere to go. I just had to puke on the street. Right in the trailer. Yeah. Then I run to the bathroom. I start puking in there. Terrible. The second
you cannot.
The second he comes up to me, he's like, a neighbor just saw you puking. Are you okay? Oh my God. I go, I'm fine. I just think I might be pregnant. No. Yeah. He goes, yeah. I was like, God, go quick on my feet, improv class. He goes, oh, yeah, I've been there. I've got 2. I'm like, so do I.
Stop it. Stop. I would die.
It's
just because you can't be sick on set anymore.
No.
Like, people will send you home.
I didn't want to lose the job.
Yeah, it's like,
not in this climate.
I'm sick. I'm pregnant. It's like...
And then I thought, I'm going to see him next week. Am I going to have to lie like...
How long is this lie going to have to keep going?
I know.
And then it's just like, oh, I actually found out I wasn't pregnant. Like, where does this go? Do I can't have it bad? Whatever.
I keep that job.
Yeah, girl, that's what it is. You got to keep the jobs. The industry is weird, especially I feel like right now. Like, it still hasn't picked up because you're still acting and you're doing both.
I'm doing both, and living out in Yucca Valley, like that was the timing for us to move out of LA was one of the best timed life choices.
When did you move?
We moved like the beginning of 2019.
So before 2020.
Yeah.
And then you had both kids or one kid?
I had one. Well, we had one kid and a 1-bedroom apartment, and it was clear that we needed to. And my husband was dead set on buying a house, so it just. And then this opportunity presented itself for him to be part of a restaurant opening up there.
Oh.
So I was like, well, let's go check it out. And I mean, the houses were just gorgeous and huge and
in
affordable.
Comparison, it's just crazy. I feel like that's such a big decision to make, that big move. But it's also the realization in your space that it's like, because were you guys already planning to have another
no
kid?
And then that happened like a month after moving. I'm like, okay, one of those like
what?
I was breastfeeding first, with your first I don't know, did you breastfeed
the year
I was like 15 months. I was like, I'm gonna continue.
I know I was like, I'm gonna stop at this time and I was like, but I love him.
I know
need to
you want to
him
just give him all the love.
And it's so special.
It is
an amazing,
so special
bonding moment, and it's just like, oh, my heart just melts thinking about. And then they look at you and they play.
It's such a connection. I know, and in the health, I think people sometimes hang on much longer. I mean, for some for health reasons, some for emotional reasons. Yeah. The timing was starting to get right, and I booked a little short film in New York, and I was like, oh, perfect opportunity to cut this
stop.
Yeah, because I'll be gone for 7 days.
Right.
And
and it's going to go. I'm not going to pump.
I guess because of the hormonal imbalance, whatever happens when, I just got pregnant immediately. Didn't mean to.
That's so crazy. I heard that you could get pregnant easily once you stop breastfeeding. Like there's a lot that happens when you stop breastfeeding.
Yeah, because we were on the, the rhythm method forever. That was just kind of, my body was so exact. I was able to do it that way. And then the rhythm got rocky.
We rocked the boat a little too much.
Yeah, and it was that was a big challenge to be in a brand new, well, it's not a city, brand new small town.
Yeah.
In a big transition period, and then to be pregnant and not expecting it. And then
Do you think that you were?
I thought about this more.
I know. I'm sorry, girl. I'm sorry to bring it back.
No, it's life, man. That was, like I said, that's when things get shaken up and you realize, like, life is so much bigger than an audition or a job.
I feel like things don't have the same, like, presidency in your life once you, like, have kids. It's like, wait, I have to, like, my brain has to be all these places and do all these things. So when you found out you were pregnant, but it's also like, I feel like that's the most beautiful sign that you guys made the right decision, because you definitely weren't going to want to have 2 kids in the apartment. No. You know what I'm saying?
No,
so it was just like
never the space.
It's impossible. And living in LA with a family, I think people don't realize that you can live outside of LA.
Right.
And still be an actor and still do these things. Like, you can afford living here. It's still expensive more than whatever, but LA is its own, like, different world, expensive world, where it doesn't, with no backyard, with no land, with none of that. So I feel like making that move, it's like, it's really scary. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like,
but it's sort of like opening too. That's the thing. I never thought I could live outside of LA ever. I thought, okay, once I'm on a show, I made it. I can, like, live anywhere, but not till then. And then, lo and behold, life took over, and then life took over again. Living outside of LA all of a sudden kind of opened up my world as, like, what is possible. I really feel like living in the desert specifically allowed my mind to just be expansive, because it's actually the landscape. It's just wide open kind of space. Yeah. And there's a lot of wind, so there's a lot of, like, change and things that occur if you're looking at things kind of metaphysically. Yeah. And then getting pregnant, letting, like, that take over of your body, just being like, okay, life is happening. And then the pandemic, Marcel, my son, was I guess about 1. Well, not
he
even
was one when you got pregnant.
Oh, well, no, I guess he was born in the end of 2019. Okay. And so then the pandemic hit, March of 2020. Correct. And that changed our industry forever. Oh, forever. So then it's like, self-tape was the main, even for commercials. I'm like, yeah, I'm living out here.
See, but that's what's crazy to me. Because we just moved an hour out.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
Yeah, we ended up moving, because I remember I even wrote you and I was like, what's the commute like? Are you okay? Like, is everything okay? Yeah. And I was like, I'll never leave LA, like, as far as, like, work-wise. But to me, I feel like, I don't know if I would have moved, if we would have moved, if the pandemic didn't happen, the self-tape situation, because I was like, I just kept thinking of, like, the drive, the back and forth, the castings, like, the last minute, we need you there, and then, like, having a kid, trying to, who's gonna watch the baby, and then, like, did you ever have to take any of your kids to?
I did a few times, and it was terrible.
I
mean, I took Simone 3 weeks. I was so desperate. I was like, for like an audition for that show, Scandal. They wanted a lactating mother, and I was in there like, because I recouped really quickly from I had a C-section with both my kids, and not that I wanted to, but it wasn't an emergency, so it was planned. Whole other story. We'll get to that next time. TBD. And so I was 3 weeks postpartum on the WB lot, just like. My mother-in-law came because she's like just support, but I was just so happy. And I was looking around at all the other moms, and their kids are like 8 months, like 10 months.
Yes.
Like, what are you
doing with your child? Like, go home.
I'm an actor.
And that's what's crazy. We feel like we have. It's like you can't miss an opportunity. Yeah. Like, like what?
It's just been, But yeah, getting back to that multi-hyphenate thing, like, that is, being able to be expansive and to be, multifunctional and have different businesses, it's so much more empowering than to feel like you're under the thumb.
Yeah, I feel like there's just so much pressure it takes off the pressure when you allow yourself to be more than just one thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I feel like dipping your hands in all these things, it feels so good because you get something from like all of it versus like the pressure, because I feel like acting starts getting not fun, you know, at a certain point when you put so much on it, because you really are not in control. Like, you could do all the things, you could practice, you could be that good actor. The outcome.
What's your favorite acting job to date? What would you say is your favorite or most like
exciting?
Not exciting, but just like you're like, this was my like most proud role. Like, I felt like that really captured my acting abilities. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was really seen.
Yeah, it's, you know, that's really funny because I ask everyone that, and I thought about it one day, and I was like, I don't know what it is, but I feel like there was a movie I did. It was called Chasing Bullet. It was like a Steve McQueen. And I saw
something about that.
Yeah, it was. I feel like I was really proud about that because I was a replacement, and then so the girl who had originally booked it, I think she had like booked a network show or something, and so she did that, and I literally auditioned like on a Wednesday. They offered me the part the next day. Then there was a dance scene, so then I had a dance rehearsal the next day. Yeah, I was like dancing, yes, because that was at the audition. The audition was like they had us like act, then they taught us a quick routine, and that was like a part of it as well. And then we started shooting on Monday, and I shot 3 days. So it was like from Wednesday to Wednesday. Wow. It was like the audition. So and it was like, it felt good.
You didn't have time to second guess it.
Yes. Yeah. I had no time to think too hard about anything. I was just like, okay, I'm going to jump and leap and whatever. And I didn't feel the pressure, because you know when you have all these time, you know, you change. It's like, ooh, what's my intention? What am I going to do here? It's like,
too much time.
But I like that. I felt like I just did my first choice. Whatever my first choice was, that was my first choice. And I didn't feel... And then when I watched it, there was definitely things that I was like, oh, I wish that I did something a little different there. But I was also proud of myself that I just, like, jumped into it.
Yeah, trusted your base of knowledge and your experience and all that you bring to it. It's like, yeah, here it is.
Yeah. That's so funny that you asked that.
Well, I'm glad you got to voice it.
I know. That's why I was like, that actually feels good saying that, because I don't think that I actually, like, I don't know, think about that. It all becomes a blur. Like, the auditions or the jobs, and it's exciting. I always say I'm going to, like, journal or, like, write down every job that I did. You know, like, have some sort of something so I could, like, look back and be like, I did this, and I've never started it, ever.
Have you journaled anything with your son? Are you journaling as a mom? Like, are you, like, the baby book, like, scrapbooker?
I will be the scrapbooker. I will be. When I have enough energy. But I did journal. It was never consistent journaling. I journaled a lot of just, like, how I was feeling and the experiences that I had while this was, because I feel like the first pregnancy was great, and then now I don't want to say it's not great. It just doesn't feel the same as the first one, and I feel like I want to write the good and the bad. I don't know. I love journaling, and that's one thing I feel like I do a lot less of now, because I used to I have less time. Even just like I used to love my morning routine, and I feel like, you know, I'd make my tea or my lemon water, I would journal, meditate, pray, like I would do all these things, and I think I'm finally learning that I can still do that, it just looks different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Totally. Like, I might not be able to make matcha, it might just be old school tea, you know what I'm saying? Like, or I might journal. I might just do one of the
three.
Yes, like
a couple times a week even.
I think
rituals.
I think that was really hard for me to adjust to accept it. Like, I was like an all or nothing. Like, this is how this looks. So when it changed, I felt like, I don't know, I wasn't doing it. But now that I'm allowing myself to kind of have it look differently and
that's
accepting
a big
that,
part of it. Yeah,
I feel like that's one of the biggest like accomplishments.
I think about so much of that, like just how being older, I say older because I think I was 36 when I had my daughter, which sounds ridiculous, but it is when you think about like how many years you've had those rituals and those mornings that you just live for yourself.
You had a long life by yourself.
It took a while for me to like let go and be like, because of course you've got this just bundle of love and just energy, and it's so incredible. But then after that kind of wears off, it's like, where am I in this again? Where am I? And what does me look
what
like?
What do I look like now?
And then it's like they're already going to school. I'm like, wait, come back. It's such a funny thing, life.
I feel like you're on the other side, and I can't wait.
Me?
It's like, yeah, because I'm just like, I feel like I'm gonna regret it because I feel like right now I'm counting down to when he starts school. I'm like,
oh no,
you don't, like, you know,
be
like, and I have to be in it, but I just feel like the things that I'll be able to get done because like
productive mindset.
I'm like, it kills me.
But this really is I mean, that's kind of, I guess, my big transition from 1 to 2 was that surrender of just like, you know what, and also seeing how life just kind of unfolds magically, whether I, push or not.
Right, yeah.
Kind of
like,
like,
it's gonna happen.
Yes, you want to show up. Yes, you want to be available and ready to go, but timing isn't always going to be on your side that way. It's like the universe sort of has its own timeline.
Yeah. And you just
and
have
going
to,
from 1 to 2, it was like just full surrender for a while, and then again I know the pandemic. We've brought it up a few times,
but it was so critical and crucial to
it was
everything.
For me, it was like, wow, like it was a terrible thing for the world. I understand that, but on a microcosmic level, I was living in the desert. This new house I got to decorate and like renovate, and 2 kids and not much money to do. It was like we were doing the renovations ourselves, but like there was something so the serenity of like not feeling like I had to be anywhere else or do anything other than just take care of these little beings.
Girl.
I was talk about ritual because there was nothing to do. I had the best meditation practice. The kids were doing it with me. I'm like, I need to.
I need to bring that back. I feel very much the same. Like, obviously, I know that it was a horrible, catastrophic, and a lot of people, got hurt. But I do feel like, for me personally, it was really amazing for me to.
For a lot of people.
It was like that'll never happen again. To where the world just stops, and there's no guilt for not doing things.
It forced to surrender for me to just be home with the 2 kids in a space where I otherwise would have been so many other places in my head, trying to get ahead, trying to get back to work, back to myself, what I knew. And it was through that, with this 4th person to our family now, where I realized, like, I turned 40.
Yeah.
The industry did not look like it did 10 years prior. Like, getting on a network show was no longer like the goal. And now with this family, I was like, I have a real need to, I need to have a job. Like, I really do.
Yeah.
And I also, like I said, having the experience of motherhood gave me a voice and a confidence that I just hadn't accessed before. And so living out in the desert, I was like, all right, am I gonna go to real estate school, or am I going to?
Then you start get a reality sets in, because that's how I feel like right now. I'm just like, so how am I gonna make consistent money? Because there's a difference of making money work when you are just you or you and your partner, but it's like, no, I have to be responsible, and I have to feed this kid 3 times a day and give them snacks, and I want to get, you know what I'm saying? Like,
you have to feed them and give them snacks.
They need a diaper, a bed, or whatever, so and it's just, it's the life you want to live for yourself and the life you want to provide for your kids. I feel like it puts like this, I don't know, you start considering things that you never did before, which is going back to the multi-hyphenate, which is amazing, and it's just not the same as it was before. It's kind of like this. I feel like this podcast for me is something that gives me a little bit of me back, because I feel like I'm still in the fog. I know I'm still in the fog. I'm not back to me yet, and I feel like this gives me like a voice where I'm like relearning myself, or like even just like,
because you are a new woman.
You're
not going to be back to your old self ever. That's impossible.
No. So that's when for you did you like accept that or realize that, or kind of like accept it?
I mean, God, when I'm thinking back to this time in my life when I became a mother, so much, shifted. My first my first project back, you know, as a mom, I remember I was pumping on set and I was really stoked. You know, it was a comedy, and I was just in my spot. I was like, it was a pilot, an independent TV pilot, and it was just felt like perfect, you know. And then it happened to be this one project where an actor crossed the line so far that it was like this clear line of like, this is not okay. You know, this is beyond harassment. This is assault.
And this was your experience?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. And it was bizarre because, you know, he and I were, you know, building up a rapport about our children. I felt like, yes, we had, you know, some intimate scenes, but I felt like safe because
we're talking about family,
you know,
kids,
blinded. But yeah.
Is that part of the reason why you also switched or started?
Well, it's what led me on this interesting journey. I was, you know, of course I had been harassed as a woman on set, and I'd seen other women and other men, and I'd seen it all, you know, being in a lot of indie films and, you know, kind
protection,
of
no protection, like no one like keeping an eye. There's really, no one talks about it really.
It's just this like, you know, the Me Too movement had started in 2018. So, I mean, it was even in my own experience. I remember doing a film, 2016, where I basically threw my hands up, like, I'm done with this. I'm going to go home and get pregnant. I can't do this industry anymore. It was so pervasive. And it was the first time I was doing nudity. And I thought, all I want to do is just sit and hear from the director exactly how he wants to shoot the scenes, like a normal person. Like, I just want to know so I can. And those conversations, and it could never happen. It was always this kind of wishy-washy thing, and I just it was so icky, and I just felt so upset about that project. And so I literally like went home and got pregnant and took a break, took a good break.
Did you really?
Yeah, it really happened like that. I was like, this project took like a year to shoot. I was so, because all the reshoots and low budget. You know,
yeah. Love the back and forth.
On a boat. It was a lot, and a lot of harassment, not just to me, but to the other crew members. Yeah, really unfortunate. Just and I did raise my voice, but it just never was met with. Yeah, I was like called a diva and a bitch and hard to work with, and I'm the one taking my clothes off here. You know?
I feel it's such a vulnerable space, and I feel like that's why I feel like intimacy coordinators are amazing. Like, I feel like they are
really
needed.
Necessary.
Yes, it's crazy that I feel like it still seems fairly new as far as like they should be required whenever there's, you know, I don't know exactly what the rules are, but I feel like it's like fairly new, and
fairly,
right? I'm not crazy. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, again, this was 2016, 17 when I was doing that film. Nobody had ever heard of. I'd never heard of one, but so I kind of had this little itch. I was like, God, what is going on? And then the Me Too movement happened. It started. And I'm like, of course it's not just me. And I knew that. I mean, I've spoken to other, you know, industry folks about just something we've all kind of accepted about the normalcy, unfortunate normalcy. But when I came back to that other project as a mom, pumping on set, I was even more vulnerable. And I was also more empowered because I truly had something else to live for, that all of a sudden it wasn't just about me. It wasn't just like, I gotta survive in this world, I've got to survive in this industry. I'm like, not that my daughter hopefully wants to be an actor, hopefully not, but I mean, but for her generation, like, I all of a sudden felt like I'm on the other side of things. I need to do something more. And so I was empowered by the movement to not just stay quiet and only tell my agent and manager about what had happened. I told the union, I told everybody I met, and it took a little bit. The whole situation took fire a little bit more than maybe I ever anticipated or wanted. I didn't see it going to where it went, but in the end, it started me on a path of advocacy and really trying to figure out how to make things better. So I started getting involved with SAG-AFTRA as a volunteer, working on committees, trying to talk to these work groups about ways in which we can have safer standard practices.
And I feel like even with you saying like, if hopefully your daughter doesn't become, but it's like even if it's not your daughter becoming an actor, there's so many young people that need that protection that I feel like, so even if it's not your daughter, it's somebody's daughter. Like
we all deserve it.
Yes.
Adults, we take for granted that men don't need it. Like, oh, you're a white male, say you're so privileged. It's like, well, we just forget that like some of the language we use. I was just on set the other day. The director kept saying, it was a female director, kept using these sort of like just names that I was just kept turning my head like, really, like cutie pie and like, that's just these kind of like Dominion what am I trying to say, like
belittling,
not belittling. It was
I know what you're
but
saying.
It just felt inappropriate in a way. And I was like, oh, she probably thinks it's fine because he's a man.
Yeah, definitely.
So those kinds of things, we all deserve respect in the workplace. Yeah. And I just think for so long our industry got used to the way things were, very one-sided. And so it was through speaking out and really getting involved that I heard about the intimacy coordination stuff. But this all happened, I mean,
you were already moved.
I was pregnant. I had moved, but I was like
pregnant with number 2.
I remember talking on KCRW about what was going on and the article that had come out and all the things, and I'm your size.
You're me. So this is the second one at that time.
Yeah, I was with Marcel. Wow. And so I started the world working as an intimacy coordinator while pregnant. Yeah, it was kind of bizarre. But it's kind of, I was like, if I could do that, I could do anything. Show up as like.
But I also feel like our timing is kind of perfect because it's like, I mean, it's not like I'm going to be working that much. This is perfect for you, perfect time for you to just like focus on this new endeavor that you're trying and like fully put your energy into it and fully think about it versus like kind of like trying to like split. Trying to split anything. It's just kind of like, this is the perfect timing for me to figure this out and to get into this and to understand it. And I feel like that's really awesome and amazing.
Yeah, the timing, like I was saying, sometimes like we can plan so much, we can manifest
force it and try and make it.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's like the most interesting things and paths are revealed when we surrender.
Yeah.
And sort of listen to and see what's happening and where it's guiding us. And so,
gosh, it's so hard.
I'm really grateful because it does feel like a job that even though I get there's a lot of negative stuff that comes with the position. People think I'm the sex police or that I'm there to like monitor everybody's behavior. And I'm a collaborator. I'm there to like enhance the sexual situation
of everything
and make sure everybody feels really confident. Yeah. So there's a lot of misconceptions and but so I'm not necessarily like the most loved person on set.
Oh, that's so interesting. I didn't.
Some people love it.
The actors love it, right?
Yeah, typically, but not always.
And then who hires? Like, who's the one that brings in the intimacy coordinator? Because it's not required, or it is required.
Well, with this last round of contracts that we had in 2023, this last contract was the first time that intimacy coordinators were mentioned in TV theatrical contracts. In the contract, so. It's not a requirement or mandate yet, but I think the verbiage is something like producers must make best efforts to hire one when there's
sexual.
It's like nudity and simulated sexual, but the work goes beyond that. But I would say that's like the hardcore line of this is the hardcore line.
Yeah.
Of when the production would hire one. So I'm hired by the production, but I'm really they know I'm a liaison for them and the actor, and I'm there to advocate for the actors. And so it's been fulfilling. I mean, to feel like I've gotten on the most amazing sets and seen the most incredible things way beyond my life as an actor.
I was just about to say it's like you're on these sets that you wouldn't be on as an actor necessarily. And it's like
feeling respected and collaborating and having, I worked on this film. Susanna Grant directed it. It's coming out this year called Lonely Planet with Laura Dern and Liam Hemsworth.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Huge fans.
That's great.
And it's just, there was such an open, collaborative conversation. Everybody was respectful and happy that we could take the space and time to not just like have another sex scene.
Right.
why?
How can
It's
we make this more?
Yeah, how can we move the story along with this? How does this serve like the characters in a way that's not? And when you really sit down and talk about it, it can enhance the storytelling.
Yeah.
It's not just like the generic.
Things are more intentional. Like it's not just like.
Yeah, it's not just. Yeah, and also I think actors just feel they always want to be heard, and they get a chance to really think about it, like how I would do this as my character.
Yeah, as this person.
Not just. I mean, I've been on sets, I don't know about you, where it's just like no conversation about it, and then just
go. Yeah, and
it's
sexy. And that's funny because actually on that movie that I was talking about,
yeah.
there, I don't remember how long it was, but it was Steve McQueen and the Thomas Crown Affair was like, at the time it was The Longest Kiss, so they wanted to recreate that, and we kissed for like, I don't remember, it seemed like forever, and we just kissed and they circled us, and it was just like,
the cameras, they were doing
they were doing a thing, and it was like, it was nerve-wracking, like it was, we talked about it briefly, I guess, me and the actor, we talked briefly about it, but I felt like I was so nervous leading up to it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And you've done an on-screen kiss before.
Yeah, I've done an on-screen kiss before, but it was never like that.
The longest kiss.
Yes, it was like a minute or something. I don't remember,
That's
but it was a long time, and I think we did it like twice. So like just thinking about it, I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's crazy to think that. But I would have liked maybe a pep talk before, or like,
sometimes in those situations,
it wasn't even a bad situation.
Yeah.
There was nothing like weird, but I do think leading up to it, it would have been nice to like have the conversation of being like
to desexualize it.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thing. It's like, if you can act like you're dying, you should be able to act like you're turned on.
Yeah,
you don't have to actually be turned on.
That's true.
It's just we can choreograph it, we can talk about it, we can desexualize it.
Yeah.
And then you can act.
Yeah.
And view whatever.
Feel freely without thinking about
it. Makes me think about how like the work has really informed some of how I parent now. Being as like all the stuff I've learned as an advocate for consent, I'm starting to see how this is like really playing a role, because my daughter's 6 now. My son's, they're 6.5 and 4.5. My son's 4.5. And of course there's conversation about genitals.
Right,
and body parts and gender.
Right.
And that's the one thing, like, immediately I was, I don't know about you, but living in this more open, gender-neutral world we did, I try to really be neutral with that. And it's so funny how the pushback will happen, where we'll be reading a story and I always like give a little, well, how do you, they'll say like, well, what about her? I'm like, how do you know that's a woman? How do you know that's a, they're like, that's definitely a woman. What, because they have long hair? I'm always challenging them. And so it's so funny to have them like talk back to me. My son will be like, we don't know because we didn't ask them if they're a boy or girl.
And you think that that you have gotten more like that sense of intimacy coordination?
Well, I think part of my, my training and my work is really about
to be understanding.
Yeah, to advocate for those, for everyone, and to be somebody who's aware of that, especially when they're in their most vulnerable scenes. It's like, this person identifies they, them. It's like,
you have to respect.
If I hear the director continuing to, gender them, that's something, that hasn't happened that often. And it's, but body parts, like, we get so loose about it, like, okay, Tack, let's, like, when do we see your tits or something? It's like, well, she would prefer. Can we not use breasts?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, use the anatomical name of body parts.
Yeah.
So that's something I've taught the kids. And,
that's so
my daughter, of course, I get a call from the principal being like, Miss Alperin, we've got you on speaker with, the teacher and the principal. Like, oh my God, what did they do?
What did they do? What happened?
Simone came, told her teacher that so-and-so showed him his penis. Wait, what? They were lying. Like some kid just flashed her. That's scary. And she's like, Miss,
That's amazing that
she
she advocates for herself.
Well,
she knows
yeah,
that she understands. Yeah, that's something where it's such a proud moment, I'm sure, as a mom, where it's just like she handled it. She felt uncomfortable,
and she could name it. She wasn't like
the
you
thing.
just
Something
showed me something.
Yeah,
it was in.
I feel like knowing terms is very important. I feel like because even my son, I'll be like, he'll point, I'm like booby, or some sort of a term that I want him to understand, because I feel like that's things can get blurred with kids where they're like the thingy, or
Or
like
give him a pet name.
Yeah, yes.
I stay away from that too. I'm just like,
that's something that's
your vulva.
Yeah.
That's your vagina. That's your vulva. I'm all for it.
Yeah,
because the younger that they can identify, just the more power they have.
Yeah.
To like,
if anything, which hopefully nothing ever happens.
Exactly.
I agree. I want it to be very clear.
And consent too. Not so long ago, my daughter, we had some friends over, and they were getting all giddy and fun and she's so transparent. There's no secrets. She's not there yet.
Right.
But so she came up to me and she said, I'm not going to say the name, but she's like, my friend, we just kissed. And I was like, wait, in the other bedroom? She's like, yeah, we just kissed. I said, okay, did you ask your friend if you could kiss her? And she said, no. I'm like, okay, well, it's fine. Just next time, because we don't know if she wants to kiss you.
Yeah.
I think she might have. But I think that's really, it's this funny thing now where I hear them, I've said it enough times where it's the same with, your body's hitting. It's like that's someone's body. They don't want you,
Yeah, it's like that.
That doesn't feel good to them.
That they may not like that.
Yeah, they may not like that on their body. You ask them, how does that feel? And so, yeah, it's just opened my eyes. Being an actor who was always, I'm game for anything. I'm a dancer. I can change wherever. Like, I don't care. To maybe the crew doesn't want to see me changing because it makes them uncomfortable.
That's such a good point, because I always think that I feel like being a dancer in general, I'm like, I feel fine changing anywhere. And then that's why it's like, oh, there's the bathrooms over there. I'm like, can I just change here? Because I'm like, the effort of going into that bathroom, it's dirty, taking off my shoes, this thing.
Right.
I feel, but I have to remember, like, I don't know. It's time to let that go to the bathroom and change. They may not want to see you.
That's what intimacy coordination.
Yeah.
Like brought on for me. This is boundaries. It's funny how we gravitate towards things like maybe we struggle with.
Yeah.
And that has for me, and it's really, yes, as you're saying, help me inform with the kids. Better boundaries with them and with bodies and. Yes, other people. I often am like, it's great that you're so comfortable, and you've got a great body. But
I'm really happy, but that's not what it is.
Or just like, we don't all need to keep seeing your amazing butt cheeks.
Private.
Like, just put a robe on.
Yeah, a robe.
Discretion. But I also am like, my essence is true, like, very free. Like,
I'm a bird.
Happy.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely a dancer. I think it's a dancer thing, right? Because
we were always.
I know.
I was gonna say your audience. Do they know you were a former America's Hottest Water Ballet?
Yes, I think they do. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Maybe I didn't. That's probably something that I struggle with, because I did a show after I had a kid.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you performed in the water.
I did.
Wow.
I did. I know. It was hard, because I was just like,
not the same.
Not the same.
Yeah.
And then I was like, not a two-piece. Not a two. You want me to jump in the bikini? Girl, for rehearsal. It was rehearsal, but I was just like, I felt so uncomfortable. Like, my body was not, it's still not, I don't even want to think about that, because even just like,
the section ever is.
That's what I'm like, so is it not going back? If you're telling me it's not. Because, see, even just like my first pregnancy, I didn't get any stretch marks, thank you so much, but this one, I'm like,
are they okay?
Yeah, I think so. I can't quite tell, and I feel, is it? And I know it is. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful. I love stretch marks. I to love them, right?
You gotta just love it all, because we're here so quick. This is life on this planet. That's the thing. I think after you turn 42, which you are so far from, it feels. I didn't realize you were so young. Like, I really, you are so baby.
I'm not. But thank you. Keep it going.
42 was the. Oh, okay, I'm a real human being.
This is my body.
Yeah.
This
So
is
I
my
really
pain.
appreciate it.
I feel like 30 personally.
Oh, really? For you?
30, I felt like 30. I definitely felt a difference in my body, and then like having a kid was like, I just can't believe the sacrifices that we put our bodies through. You know what I'm saying? And even how you said you were nursing so long, I nursed the 12 months, but by that 12 months, I was already pregnant again. So I just.
Oh my goodness! Are they Irish twin? Will they be?
They will not be Irish because he was 1 when I was pregnant.
Oh, okay.
I was like 3 months pregnant. Yeah. 3 months. You have to get pregnant. Like when they say you can start doing it.
2 years apart.
202. Yeah. They'll be 18 months apart.
18 months.
Next month, he'll be 18 months. And I feel like I have not, this is not my body. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, girl. Yeah, girl. It's going to be a rough couple years.
Do you know the gender?
Girl. I know. So I have a boy, girl, and we are 2 and through.
Okay, we were too.
Done.
We were 2 and through. And so much so that Jean Michel got a vasectomy within like 2 weeks.
Girl, that's why I was like, we need to start talking about this stuff because the pull up, like, are we timing this? Like, did you forget? You know, like, ugh.
So or if you, I mean, there's a couple ways to go about that. I thought that we could just. I was like, I guess I'll tie my tubes when I'm,
when I'm already
when they're down there, because
you know,
I had to have two C-sections. So I think we were like mid C-section, and we were like, oh, can you just tie your tubes? They're like, no, we can't do that. We need to have like,
we would have already,
that needs to be like
while you're down there, can you just
I swear to God, and my husband was like, can you just tie our tubes while you're down there? Like, just
that's not how this works.
That's
That's not how this works. That's hilarious. That's
no.
Man. Yeah, it's been a ride. I'm looking forward to it.
How was your first birth?
It was okay. It was okay. It wasn't horrible.
Are you planning to do the same birth plan or different?
Same birth plan, but I feel like with this one, because like we moved and there's so much going on, that I'm just like, I'm tired. I'm just like, I'm open to kind of like, in a perfect world, I'd give birth in the water.
I was going to say,
I would have loved to do that, but I felt like I didn't have enough time to prepare mentally. I feel like you have to be in a nice place to where you can, so it could just, I don't know.
Well, so what can I ask? Is that okay for you to say?
Yeah. What?
On your podcast?
To say what?
Oh, what your birth plan is.
I'm going to the hospital.
Okay, so when you're gonna labor, you'll know when to labor.
I wanted to do, because my first pregnancy, I didn't want Pitocin, I didn't want epidural, like I just wanted to do it, but my water broke and I wasn't contracting or dilating. So for 2 days, basically.
So they gave you Pitocin.
Yeah, they were like, all right, you're losing a lot of water, like it's, or amniotic fluid. We gotta do Pitocin, and then so they gave me the Pitocin, and I tried to do it without the epidural, and it was.
Sounds very much like my friend.
It was like, it was horrible. And then eventually I was like, all right, I'll get an epidural. Long story short, she didn't do it correctly. So she couldn't find it. I still had the pain. And they kept raising the Pitocin. I was like, you guys, this hurts. And they're like, oh, it's just pressure. They're like, this is not, I was like, I'm going to yank this out if you don't stop giving me more Pitocin. And then, longer story short, I was like, okay, we'll do a C-section. I can't do this, because I just remember there was this moment where this lady was like, ah! I just heard her in the other room, and I looked at my husband, and I remember a tear shed down. I was like, I'll do a C-section. And it was just so. So I went to get a C-section. They're like, okay, well, let's just, for the time being, there's a long line, so let's redo your epidural. And the lady who came to give me the epidural the second time, she's like, who did your epidural? She's like, you have 8 holes in your back. And then she put it in, and all of a sudden my body relaxed. So I never had the epidural. They were just raising the Pitocin, no epidural. And I told them it hurt, and they didn't believe me. Once she gave it to me, my body relaxed, and I slept for like the first time in 3 days. And then I was like, they're like, okay, let's just check to see how you dilated. And I was dilated and I was like, I could do this. And then like I did it. And I'm like, look at me, I have goosebumps because
I'm
like
crying.
yeah.
Honestly, like
it could have went so different. It could have went so different. And I'm just so grateful. Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here with me. If you liked what you heard, put a ding on it. Don't forget to rate and review. And remember, motherhood is the best hood.